Welcome to Islamic Life Coach School Podcast. Apply tools that you learn in this podcast and your life will be unrecognizably successful. Now your host, Dr. Kamal Akhtar.
Hello everyone. Peace and blessings be upon all of you. I hope and pray that everything is going well with you in this month of Ramadan. And if you're listening outside of the month of Ramadan, then I still hope and pray the same for you. Today we're going to be talking about the approach of mind management from a more deep spiritual perspective. Most, if not all, of the concepts in this podcast are rooted in spirituality, but today I'm going to tie it in a little differently, and inshallah, it will give you a different perspective. Starting with the basics, C-near, that's C-NEAR, stands for circumstances, N for nervous system, E for emotions, A for actions, R for results. It always happens that way, and it is a linear relationship. Our circumstances do not cause the results in our life. Our thoughts from our mind and our nervous system cause our results. Your results that you create are the effect of thoughts that are being generated in your nervous system, both conscious and subconscious. And the results you're currently living in your life, either that of a successful life, whether you're setting your goals, going out for them, and achieving your dreams, or the result where your mind is mostly just spinning in circles. You fantasize about creating goals but are unable to step forwards towards them, or you think that your circumstances are not optimal to go for your goals. You fantasize big but you achieve nothing. Either way, the result is being generated by you, the nervous system. The reason I so confidently say that is summarized in this algorithm, C-near. C is the circumstance. It's always outside of us. It's always outside of your control, and it does not cause your result because you as an individual has the freedom to think and behave the way you want. You have the freedom of assigning these circumstances any meaning you want. Given the same circumstances, if two individuals are dealt the same cards in life, they will create completely different results based on how they approach their circumstances. Meaning there's a gap between what you're dealing with in terms of your circumstances and your situations and how you respond to them. That is very well represented by the dash in the formula. This dash represents the gap between you and the things that are outside of you. The work that we do in coaching is that we spend a lot of time in seeing this gap. This gap gives you the freedom of choice in picking your narrative. That gap is always there, but we sometimes forget it, because nobody actually ever teaches us that we have a choice in the matter. So coaching is about really elaborating on this gap and really slowing down until we can see the fork in the road, until we can see the distance between us and the people and the things around us. So once you have assigned your circumstances a meaning through the language of your mind, which is represented by the N in the algorithm for the nervous system, then that language will create a certain emotion in your body. That will be a certain feeling, a certain set of sensations. And this is the miracle of creation, where something metaphysical, which is a thought in your mind, which is immaterial, incorporeal, something that does not have physical matter, such as thought. This is the language in your brain, which are the same thing as the prompts in your mind, or khawatir in the tradition of Islam. This immaterial thing creates something physical, which are neurochemicals, and they are molecular substances created by neurons. These neurochemicals create emotions in your body that are experienced by you as feelings and emotions. These emotions are represented by the E in the algorithm, are then used as fuel to generate actions by the human being. High energy emotions will generate a lot of visible action, and low energy emotion will generate no visible actions. It kind of looks like when you're angry. Anger as an emotion creates outbursts, or excitement is another high energy emotion which will create activity and movement. But self-doubt is a low energy emotion and it won't create much activity. Other low vibration frequency emotions are self-loathing or feelings of inadequacy. They all create a lot of non-actions, a lot of procrastination, a lot of blame, a lot of perpetual thinking, but no overt actions. They create a lot of mind drama and spinning in the head. So emotions create actions or non-actions. And these are represented by the A in the algorithm, A for actions. When you're acting from high energy emotions and actions, you will create results accordingly, which will look like you're being able to show up for your life. your dreams, your aspirations, and being able to contribute. When you show up from low energy emotions, that will be a lot of overthinking and minimal actionable steps. This will create no tangible result other than you just stressing out a lot. In either case scenario, if the language in your head is self-deprecating or that of a victim mentality, like you always blaming and only referring to your past to remind yourself of how unfair things have been, then you will create emotions and actions accordingly. On the other hand, if the language in your head is uplifting and you have a growth mindset and you're always learning and improving and you're always analyzing your circumstances, your past, and trying to figure out how you can use this to your advantage, then you will have the emotional energy to generate a lot of actions and create abundant results. Either way, the results will prove your thoughts correct. If you think you're the victim of your past, the present will look the same as your past, proving to you that you indeed are the victim. This becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you think to yourself that you have what it takes to make small changes today, regardless of your past, and you start to break away from those chains and you start to create opportunities with your mind, then you will take actions that will prove your past wrong, and the thoughts that you can break out from the limitations of your past will become true. This also becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Either way, you are creating these results, directly proving your thoughts. Result, as I define it from what you just heard, is something that you create. You as a human being create your result. But some of you might consider it a bold statement, and you might even have an objection. You might say, how can you say that I create my results? Everything is from Allah. And I completely 100% agree with that. I fully believe that. But imagine yourself to be the vehicle through which the result is manifested. Like penicillin is the vehicle through which a cure is manifested. The cure is from Allah, but the antibiotic is the vehicle. So imagine your mind being the vehicle of manifestation of the results, or as they call it, a wasila. So in the modern positive psychology terms, we call it a self-fulfilling prophecy. That is to me kind of short-sighted because it seems like we're taking the divine out of the picture. But when I say that you guys create your results, what I want you to remember is that this is with the permission of Allah. I am referring to you as being the vehicle of manifestation of change that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants. So the result that you manifested will be written for you. So any result that you manifest would have been written for you. But the beauty is that you don't know what result is written for you. So the result can be good or bad. That is the freedom of choice that the human being has based on their thoughts. If you practice an upgraded mindset, that's the result you'll have. If you work from the default, right out of the box, victim mindset, that's the result you'll end up creating. So I don't want you guys to give me any of these sentences like everything in my life is already written for me. You have no idea what is written for you. What comes to fruition is what you choose to think. And that is all I'm going to say about this topic of predestination. I have another podcast on this topic where I go over it in detail. That's episode number 51, titled Created Future is Qadr. Then comes the topic of outcomes, which are different than the results you create. What if you have the best intention, the most refined mindset? You are practicing growth mindset. You are purifying your intention every step of the way, but you don't see the result. That's when you're actually looking at an outcome, not a result that you can generate. We can elevate our mind and we can purify our heart. We can show up from the highest intention and the purest energy, which happens to be your qalb. But still, if you don't see the results that you wanted, it's because this is a situation of an outcome. Outcome is something that happens as a result of divine intervention directly, without you as a vehicle. And we rely heavily on this belief that we absolutely need divine intervention at every step in our life, in every moment. Without Allah's permission, everything will cease to exist, and everything continues to exist with the continual permission of Allah. So while we are generating our results out of our will, that's because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is allowing us, He is allowing our minds to generate meanings. He is allowing us to interpret all of the signs around us. He is allowing us to interpret our circumstances around us. It is our responsibility through Him allowing it that we go through the tazkiyat an-nafs, purification of ourselves. And this allowing is then what generates our results. But the outcomes are directly from Allah. Either way, we are in need of continual divine mercy. So the results are what you're responsible for because you are the direct vehicle of the manifestation, but the outcome is out of your control because it is directly from Allah. You know you have come to an outcome when you have barakah, when the outcome is exponentially larger than the result you could have created alone with your actions. You know you have yourself an outcome when your dua is answered in a way that you didn't think was possible. When you have 24 hours in a day like everyone else, but you are able to accomplish much more compared to anyone else. The exponential outcomes or barakah in your time, in your blessings, in your thoughts, your actions, your relationships. Anytime you're seeing a result that is more than what your mind could have created alone, that is because of an outcome, direct divine intervention. Let's say that the result that you want is to have a baby, but the doctor said that you can't have a baby, but through dua you conceive. Or through dua it becomes easy for you to adopt. It feels natural and welcoming, something that you could not have thought was possible before. Or through dua you start to foster children and you start to make it true source of joy for yourself. Then the outcome has been different than what you could have created alone on your own. This is directly from Allah. And in that case, dua is what we rely on. Or let's say you study hard for an entrance exam and you have pure intentions. You prepare, you get mentorship, you put in the hours, but you don't do well. This is an outcome. This is not something you intended or prepared for, but it happened anyway. Outcome like failing of the exam or infertility despite of your best efforts is just another circumstance, meaning it's just something that is outside of your control. And it's something that you learn to deal with. Outcome is a circumstance that you can then make it mean whatever you want. In case of failing of the entrance exam, you can make it mean that you don't have what it takes, or this is a sign from God that you shouldn't even try. Or you can make it mean that God wants you to up-level your resilience muscles. You can double down on your effort. You can have laser-sharp focus on your goal and pass the exam against all odds. Outcome of failing of the exam can mean either one of those things. Each outcome is a circumstance that you have a choice to make it mean whatever you want. The problem becomes when we rely too heavily on just divine intervention alone. We become an inshallah only nation. We say if it is meant to happen, it will happen. We say things like, rizq is written for me. I will make money if it was meant to be, only if it was in my destiny. And we start to say things like such and such would happen if it was meant to be. Let me tell you how much control you actually have on your results, and that is a lot. Divine intervention will not happen unless you take action. In a hadith narrated by Abu Hurairah, Prophet ﷺ said, I am just as my slave thinks I am, that is, I'm able to do for him what he thinks I can do for him, and I am with him if he remembers me. If he remembers me in himself, I too remember him in myself. And if he remembers me in a group of people, I remember him in a group that is better than they. And if he comes one span nearer to me, I go 1 cubit nearer to him. And if he comes 1 cubit nearer to me, I go a distance of 2 outstretched arms nearer to him. And if he comes to me walking, I go to him running. Sahih Hadith reported in Bukhari and Muslim. What I gather from this is that you need to start walking. Our conscious mind is capable of thinking so far outside the box that we can create incredible results for ourselves. But for the most part, we are significantly boxing our minds in, and we are significantly trapped by our internal biases and our presupposed limitations. But all of the biases and their limitations are made up. None of them are factual. But these limitations keep us from walking. They keep us from even taking the next first step. They keep us limiting ourselves, and we keep calling it predestination. When we don't take the initial steps, we cannot generate our results, and that's when the outcomes are also not in our favor. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep us always in His mercy and in His favor. But when you do take the initial steps, and you make an effort, and you think to the highest level of your capacity, and your emotions are positive, and your actions are in line with your pure heart, then the results start to manifest. That's when the outcomes become exponential. Because when we walk towards Allah, He comes to us running. So start walking. What does that look like for you? Maybe you need to start walking because you have low confidence and you're unable to move forward in your chosen career. And people keep bypassing you because you can't hold your own. You can't be assertive. You can't be confident. In that case, what it looks like is that you start walking by creating a mindset that will give you confidence. Or maybe you've been reactive and disrespectful to your parents because your brain justifies that they are mean to you. So you can do that and be disrespectful, but then later you don't feel good about yourself because that reactivity shows up in other places in your life, like with your children, with your colleagues, or your spouse, and you're quick with your temper and your trigger, even with yourself. Then you start walking towards curbing your reactivity around your parents. You try to become less trigger happy, less snappy. When you start walking, when you start to generate results of self-respect, respect for others, these small steps that you generate will upgrade you as a person. It will turn into large outcomes, inshallah. Allah will run towards you and make your affairs easy by extension in your personal life, in your professional relationships, and all other areas. You will start to see the positive effects of self-control everywhere. Results are created by you. Outcomes are provided by Allah. You are the vehicle of results. Outcomes are directly from God. Outcomes are for you to do with what you want. Results, as I teach in the C-NEAR algorithm, are yours to generate. Outcomes will follow. Outcomes can and do happen without your actions, but your chances of creating exponentially positive outcomes are much higher if you start to take small steps. If you start to walk. If you start to take action from a sincere heart and sincere intention. Mindset coaching is exactly why we do this work. This is where I can help you in purifying your intentions. So make an appointment for an initial free consultation and you will start to create results right away. My program, Empowered Muslim Women, is designed so that you can create the most elevated of intentions and a sincere heart. Qalb as-salim, a heart at peace. But you have to take the steps. I will leave you with this. Even if the outcome seems to be against you, and let's say you've done everything by the book and you're practicing being the highest version of yourself and you're course correcting and you're sincere in your du'as and your ibadah, but things don't seem to be working out in your favor. In that case, outcomes can become something that you either make into a challenge and halt, or you can make them into a gift and create 10 other outlets from one closed door. Your higher brain is created in a way where it will create pathways for you where you didn't think were possible. You just have to let your wisdom unfold. You have all the inner knowing you will ever need to make all of your life's circumstances and outcomes into a gift. You just have to let the process unfold. With that, I pray, O Allah, the most merciful and compassionate, we ask you to grant us a deep spiritual understanding of science of our minds and our heart. Help us grasp the intricacies of our thoughts and emotions so that we may grow closer to you and align ourselves with your divine will. Please inspire us to make meaningful actions in our lives and make us the vehicle of change for our families and our communities. Help us uplift those around us. O Allah, we ask you to guide us in such a way that our results are always in our favor. Make the outcomes in our favor. And when we face a situation where the outcome seems against us, grant us the presence of mind to be thankful and to recognize the hidden opportunities in whatever you have in store for us. Help us trust your infinite divine wisdom, knowing that you are the best of the planners and that everything that happens is ultimately for our own good. Strengthen our faith and our resolve so that we may continue to strive for excellence and contribute positively to the world around us. O Allah, make our akhirah a time of ease for us. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. Please keep me in your du'as. I will talk to you guys next time. If you're interested in getting coached by me, I'm offering a very affordable opportunity to do that with Wisdom Wednesdays. This is not a course, not a lecture. This is an opportunity for live coaching, real change with Islamic adab and etiquette. You do not need more information. You actually need a space to create change. at $19.99 a month, which is the price of takeout dinner, you as a Muslim woman will create confidence, intimacy, and connection without shame or fear of judgment, because your privacy is my highest priority. So join at www.islamiclifecoachschool.com. Resources, Wisdom Wednesdays. I'll see you inside, inshallah.